Welcome back to the show, everybody. Brandon Johnson and Governor Pritzker did a press conference yesterday, and they were talking about the state of Illinois and the city of Chicago resisting Washington, D.C., and the Trump administration sending assistance to the city of Chicago. I'm less interested in what Governor Pritzker said. He said a lot of things with which I disagree, but Brandon Johnson, because he is really the standard bearer right now as the mayor of the third largest city in Chicago. He is the person to whom everyone is providing attention. Everyone is listening to every word that he says. And I want you to take a listen to this. I just cannot understand how this man is still in office. Take a listen to this.
Thank you, Governor. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Thank you, President Preckwinkle, Lieutenant Governor Stratton, for being here, and our Attorney General Raul, and to the members of the press. Today we stand here united as the state of Illinois, Cook County, and the city of Chicago to send a very clear message. We do not want or need military occupation in our city. We do not want or need militarized immigration enforcement in our city. We have been clear on that, and we will continue to take every single measure that we can to protect our people from these threats. However, I also want to be clear about this. There are measures that the federal government can take right now to help continue to drive down violence and crime in our city. We need the federal government to stop the endless flow of guns into our state and into our city. Chicago police officers have taken more than 24,000 guns, illegal guns, off the streets of Chicago since I've taken office. Over 24,000 illegal guns taken off the streets of Chicago since I've been in office. They have worked hard every single day to make our city safer, and they've made historic progress. However, we will never be able to end gun violence in Chicago as long as the president continues to allow tens of thousands of guns to be trafficked into our state and our city. The vast majority of guns do not come from Chicago. They are not made in Cook County. They are not bought in the state of Illinois. These guns come from red states. They are coming from Indiana. They are coming from Mississippi. They are coming from Louisiana. And that is the harsh reality, whether Republicans like it or not.
So I want you to think about what Brandon Johnson is saying. He's trying to make this political. He's saying the guns are coming from red states, which is the most idiotic thing he can say. I say this I do a terrestrial radio show on Fridays, locally here in Chicago, every Friday from 3 to 6 p.m. I say this often when this comes up. Oh, the guns are not made in Chicago. They're made someplace else. And I say every time someone brings that dumb statement up, if I drive home from the city of Chicago to my home in the suburbs, and I get home and there's a box of guns and a box of drugs sitting on my front porch, you know what David Seaton is going to do? I'm going to pick up the phone, I'm going to call the local police, and I'm going to say, hey, I need you to come to my house. I just got here and there's a box of guns and a box of drugs sitting on my porch. I don't know where it came from, and I need you to come pick it up. Why is this ignorant mayor pretending like black people who are committing these gun crimes in the city of Chicago are just children? They're just infantilized. They see a gun, they can't help themselves. They have to pick it up and shoot someone. They see some drugs somewhere, they have to pick it up and sell it. This is such a stupid argument. I'm so angry, I'm so pissed off that I keep hearing this stupid argument made over and over again. If you see a gun and you know you don't have a gun card, if you're 16 years old, you know you're not old enough to legally own a gun, don't pick it up. If you see drugs, don't pick them up and sell them. But if we're pretending like people are just children, and if they see guns and they see drugs, they can't help themselves. They have to break the law, and then Brandon Johnson comes in and tries to pretend and make it political. It's not the fault of the people who pick up the guns and pull the trigger. It's not the fault of the people who actually go out there and commit the crime. It's the fault of the state where the guns were made. And Mississippi is not sending guns to Illinois. Private companies, at the worst accusation you can make is that private companies are selling guns and they're somehow making their way into Chicago. That still does not absolve the responsibility of the individuals who are picking the guns up and committing the crime.
In our city will do nothing to solve this problem. No matter how much work we do or how hard we work, whether it's expanding our Detectives Bureau, investing in community violence intervention, and addressing the root causes of crime, none of it will ever be enough until the president decides to end the mass trafficking of guns in our city. For every gun that the Chicago Police Department fights to get off the streets, 2 or 3 more new guns come into our city. Chicago will continue to have a violence problem as long as red states continue to have a gun problem. Shootings will continue as long as this presidential administration continues to put politics over people. We have sued Glock over their semi-automatic guns that are easily converted into automatic weapons with switches. We have taken down gun stores in Indiana that illegally sell thousands of guns to traffickers who move them into Chicago. But whatever we shut down, and whenever we do this, another one pops up. The governor has worked extremely hard to strengthen our gun control laws across our state. And as much as we would like to, we cannot send officers across state lines to stop this problem at the source. We only have jurisdiction over our own city. The governor only has jurisdiction over our state lines. It is the role, more importantly, the responsibility of the federal government and the president to stop the trafficking of weapons across state lines.
So now he wants to say, Donald Trump, I need you to not come into this blue state where people are pulling the trigger. I need you to go into the red states, because the red states, the governor of Indiana and the governor of Mississippi is collaborating with the underworld to push guns into the city of Chicago. What about using the police and using the National Guard to actually apprehend, arrest, detain, and incarcerate the people who are pulling the trigger in Chicago? This dude will do anything in the world to avoid holding black people accountable. I won't even say black people. Holding criminals accountable when they go out there and they commit crimes. I don't care what the race of the person is. I have an 80-year-old mother. My mother is 80 years old. She's had dementia. She's had a stroke. She lives here with me and my wife and my 24-year-old daughter. If someone comes into my house and they harm my mother, I'm not going to ask what race they are. I'm going to ask, who's the person who hurt my mother? If my wife is out there driving somewhere and someone hurts my wife, the first question the first question out of my mouth to the police is not going to be, what's the race of the person who hurt my wife? If my 24-year-old daughter goes out there, the first question out of my mouth is not going to be, oh, did the person who hurt her was black? Well, it's okay if the person who hurt her was black, because the gun he used came from Mississippi. So I don't want you to arrest him. I want you to go down to Mississippi and arrest the governor of Mississippi, because he's the one who's at fault. That's the stupidest thing I've ever Heard.
Every shooting in Chicago, there is a gun trafficker in Mississippi making money. There is a gun trafficker in Louisiana profiting off of our pain. And this is a serious problem that has gone on for far too long, and it requires serious solutions. We wrote a letter to President Biden after a mass shooting in Chicago 2 years ago, asking for more resources to stop gun violence in our city by deploying federal agents to hold these gun traffickers accountable. President Biden responded with more resources and stronger enforcement, and that alone had a significant impact on gun violence in our city. We need President Trump to do the same. Instead of using militarized ICE agents to terrify our communities here in Chicago, instead of sending in Border Patrol to our city to detain mothers and fathers who have called Chicago their home for decades, working class people who pay their taxes and make our communities stronger, they should direct those resources to taking down gun traffickers so that we can finally put a stop to the violence. If the Chicago Police Department had a fighting chance, we could end gun violence in Chicago. But as long as this president allows hundreds of thousands of guns to come into our city, we will always be fighting an uphill battle.
No, you know what you could do, Brandon Johnson, Mayor Brandon Johnson? You could put a moratorium on foot chases. You could put a moratorium on auto chases. And you could put a moratorium on COPA, the civilian board that reviews and scrutinizes every time a police officer has to fire their gun when a crime is being occurred. Because guess what happens then? If someone knows, if a police officer in CPD knows they are going to be scrutinized anytime they use their weapons, that means they're not going to use their weapons, or they're going to have trepidation when they have a situation where they might have to do so. And that's what's causing the loss of life, not Donald Trump and mayors in red states.
So our call to the president and to his fellow Republicans who want to weaponize the tragedy of gun violence, the Republicans who want to use the pain of families who have lost loved ones to shootings, and who want to use our city as a punching bag. Our response is that they should get their own house in order before they say anything about the city of Chicago. We have done tremendous work with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, ATF in Chicago. On August 4th, ATF worked with the Chicago Police Department to take 171 guns off the streets in just one action. They took 64 machine gun switches. These are devices that turn guns into automatic weapons, and they are almost always found on the scene of mass shootings in our city. These guns are linked to shootings and homicides in Chicago going all the way back to 2017. Including the killing of a 14-year-old boy. So my question is, why did Trump cut $468 million from ATF's budget in his nasty signature bill? Why did he cut funding for the agency responsible for getting guns off our streets by almost 30%? Why did he cut 1,465 positions from an agency that is so critical to reducing gun violence? They cut funding from the agency that is actually stopping gun traffickers so they could increase funding for ICE and Border Patrol. I'm going to repeat that again so that it sinks in. Trump gutted the agency that actually catches gun traffickers just so that he could hand money to ICE and Border Patrol. This president...
I don't know about you, but if someone handed me a jug that said poison on it, it had a skull and crossbones, I wouldn't drink it, die, and then my family go and sue the person who gave me the jug. People are making choices to pick up guns and commit crime. You know what? I apologize because I was sitting down to do this video and I was getting angry. I was getting incensed. I was borderline truculent. And I wanted to do this video because this matters to me. I have family who live in inner city Chicago on the west and the south sides. I have cousins and aunts and family members whom I love. And I would hate to get that call one day that one of my loved ones died. But if one of my loved ones gets shot, I'm not going to be mad at the mayor of Jackson, Mississippi. I'm not going to be mad at the governor of Jackson, Mississippi. I'm not going to be mad at the governor of Louisiana. I'm not going to be mad at the governor of Indiana. I'm going to be angry at the person who pulled the trigger. And to hear Brandon Johnson get up day after day after day and use race and politics and class for every argument that he makes just boils me to the core.
Doesn't care about gun violence. He just wants his own secret police force that would do publicity stunts whenever his poll numbers are sinking. Whenever his jobs report shows a stagnating economy, whenever he needs another distraction from his failures. That's what this is about. The Trump administration continues to try to use the real pain and loss of gun violence victims as a pretext for expanding his own power. Unfortunately, even some elected officials in our city and state have parroted these lies. But here's the truth. Donald Trump is the last person in America who cares about families on the south and west side of Chicago. Those who are dealing with violence on a regular basis. He's the last person. The thought doesn't even cross his mind. If he did, he wouldn't have cut $800 million from violence prevention organizations. These are funds that would have gone towards organizations on the south and west side who are on the front lines.
Okay, you get it at this point. Now he's going to go down the laundry list of, oh, Donald Trump cut these items from the budget from violence prevention. Meanwhile, he's not going to mention the over $600 million that he allocated to pay for migrants who were here illegally. He could have taken that $600 and fortified the city's budget, or the budget of the CTU, or the budget of CTA. It's nothing but deflection. It's nothing but politics and race and class with this mayor. And the black citizens of Chicago, let me take that back. The citizens of Chicago, regardless of their race, deserve to be safe. They deserve to be able to walk up and down the streets of Chicago. They deserve to get on a bus. They deserve to get on a train. They deserve to go downtown. They deserve to gather and not have to look over their shoulders and wonder whether or not they're going to be unalived that night randomly by someone. And when Washington, D.C., as I've said in previous videos, whether you love or you hate Donald Trump, the fact that he is trying to do something in the third largest city that just had one of the most violent Labor Day weekends in recent memory, the fact that he's trying to do something and this mayor and this governor from the state of Illinois are going to just reject it out of hand and just question his motives is just the temerity of that act. I can't even fathom. The people of Chicago deserve to live safely. And right now, Donald Trump is trying to partner with the mayor and partner with the governor, but they are allowing politics to stand in the way. Leave a comment, like the video, share it. Let me know in the comments, are you as angry as I am? This is the David Seaton Show.